Hey, welcome to my daily live here. We're gonna get started in just a second. I'm looking at my phone and I don't really see a connection yet there. So let me know in chat if you can see and hear me, if we're good to go to get started. Um, I can see it flipped over, so I can see the technology part of it is working. For some reason, that chat's not working. I'm gonna wait a couple seconds just to make sure that I'm seeing somebody. Because I know a lot of you show up, and I don't know if there's a technology glitch or something. Pushing it through. There we go. Okay, I think I'm going to start seeing some of the comments come in, but I can see people are on. Gus, if you can hear me, can you text me? Because I'm not seeing chat, and I don't know if chat's not working, which is fine. I can still deliver today's message and training. But I do want to make sure if I'm talking that people can see and hear me. Just waiting. Okay. Thank you, Cecilia. Okay. So we're going to get started here. By the way, before we get started, I did want to tell you, for those of you who are here early, that every day I'm trying to post something out there. My team and I post through my LinkedIn profile content that is designed to teach you about the federal government, help you do your homework. In particular, I try to really stick to content that's related to business development or capture. So today I posted out an Army org chart that we put together, and the Army org chart has two really cool components in addition to the org chart. If you click on the little LinkedIn icons on the org chart for the Army, you'll be able to go to the LinkedIn company page for those commands. And then around the outside are the logos for all the commands that are on there. And those logos are all hyperlinked directly back to their own website. So we thought this would be a convenient way for you to be able to reach stuff. So definitely go take a look at that. And if you like that kind of content, give it a thumbs up so other people can find it. I noticed that the Army itself came in and engaged it, which is exactly what we want, because then we can make sure that anytime we're putting information out that they're agreeing that we're putting out stuff that's still relevant. In that post that I did today, it was a strategic plan, and then it's a document talking about Force 2030, and then the current Army strategy is in there as well. So let me just pop in here. Okay, I'm going to turn that running bar off. Thanks, Gus. And get rid of that guy. And then, Gus, can you just let me know if chatting is working? Sometimes there might be issues, but I'm positive the video and audio are working. So I'm going to get started. I'm Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my daily LinkedIn Live, where I discuss processes and procedures for you to achieve success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. That process goes from A to Z. And when we follow a process, we get the results that we hope, or the outcome that we're looking for. Today, we're going to be talking about how to control prime teaming partners in the federal market. And I'll go in particular to talk about what do I mean when I say control. It's not a bad word. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. So before we get too far and I dive into the meat of what I want to train today, help the buyers remember who you are. In the chat, in comments, go ahead and put your company name and then put your core competency, 2 or 3 words that let people know what you do. Buyers want to know who you are. Yesterday, we actually had a couple of buyers in the training, but we also have all sorts of people just like you who are potential teammates. And this is a community we're building. So when you put that information in chat, you're able to see each other and connect for teaming reasons, if that makes sense. Also, if you're open to connections in general with people who are in the GovCon market, then just let them know that in chat as well. I'm open to connections is what I put. Okay, Gus, I see your chat. I don't see the chat, and I don't want to touch my text since it all looks like it is working. I'm going to go into the meat of our training. And today we're going to piggyback off of yesterday's training about all the potential strategic partners you could bring into your sales strategy. This whole week, we're talking about teaming. So 5 days of teaming training. And today it's about controlling prime, and generally I mean large prime teaming partners in the federal market. So as we move forward, I'm going to talk about why it's important to control them. I want to give you top one and done tasks, meaning you'll do it once and you probably don't have to do it again to get this control started. And then I'm going to give you a couple of tasks that are ongoing tasks throughout the relationship. that you keep doing, which will enable you to retain control. Control in this sense, by the way, is not like I talked about in a previous training where I'm talking about controlling a meeting. In this case, it's a little bit more about the relationship and less about the tasks. Somebody was asking me earlier, was this control have to do with business development or capture tasks, things like that? And it doesn't. It's a level above that. It's just meeting or relationship management. If you don't manage it, then who is, right? So the first thing is when you want to think about when does this control happen, it happens after you've established a relationship with somebody at a large prime, right? You're deciding you're going to work with them and you're going to get into a regular set of meetings for business development, which is about working together, talking about your pipeline, and maybe talking about an agency like the Air Force. Hey, we're getting in. You're connecting on a regular basis. You've agreed to connect on a regular basis. Well, as you start building that relationship, then you want to gain control. And that's where it is. After you've already got an agreement from the other person that, yeah, I think it's going to fit. Let's get going. And then the other part is controlling the prime is when it's capture. So when it's about a particular opportunity, and this is why I say prime, right? You've got a large prime, and how do you control it so that opportunity that you're investing in doesn't get lost, right? Even though you're a subcontractor, you're investing and your team is investing energy into this opportunity. And the prime is going to be doing certain things that we sometimes just expect will happen. Well, don't leave it to chance. Controlling the prime means making sure that you are working together with the prime to get things done that need to get done. When you control the prime, one of the things you're going to find is that they'll appreciate it, right? I've mentioned this in multiple trainings that I do, and I like going down this path of control not being a bad thing. But when we go into a meeting, we're looking for somebody to be in charge of this meeting, so it's not a waste of my time. If I go into a meeting and no one's in control, I'm going to grab control really quickly and say, hey, what's the purpose of this meeting? What are we expecting to get out of it? Okay, let's get going, right? It's a project manager in me. Many project managers would do the same thing. And in this case, it's about the relationship. We're coming in, let's control it. And the prime will appreciate the fact that they don't have to babysit you, right? Here's a sub who's taking control respectfully, completely subordinate to the prime, saying, it's your show, but I'm just going to kind of make sure that show is moving. And that prime might be overwhelmed with multiple opportunities they're chasing. If all I'm doing is subbing with them on this one opportunity, well, I can take control of it to the level that's acceptable, right? At a certain point, you're just being pushy. But what I'm going to talk about is not pushy. It's helpful. And that's why I say that this prime will appreciate you taking control. The other thing you'll get out of this when you take control of a prime is that both of you are going to start winning more. You'll be able to make sure that if the prime's hitting roadblocks that they see or even don't see, that because you're getting engaged and you're being you're taking control as a sub, then you'll be able to drive towards more wins. And I was just trying to think of an example. I didn't necessarily need one, but I just popped into my head about this idea of backseat drivers. Backseat drivers aren't necessarily bad. If they're telling me to speed up and slow down and get in that lane, well, you're annoying, right? But if the backseat driver says, hey, it looks like there's an accident coming up after the next exit, but before ours, it looks like there's an accident, you might want to consider taking the exit beforehand and we can find an alternate route. Oh, cool. Okay, thanks. Right? That's being helpful to the driver, not annoying the driver. I'm going to go away from chat, come back to my thing just to make sure I'm seeing this. So as you think about taking control, know that there's an upside. It's not just about project management control, but really there's an upside to the winning that you'll be able to do. You'll have less mistakes happening. So let's talk about that from a why is it important to control primes. For a small business in particular, and that's really in this training, that's who I'm talking about, right? Small businesses controlling a large prime. How do you do that? And so as you move forward, you don't want to be seen as a small business. You don't want to be seen as a small business. You want to be seen as a subject matter expert and a trusted partner. When you're coming into the relationship, into the meetings that are related to the relationship and focusing on controlling, like thinking ahead, what do they need? What can I do? Ironically, when you're marching in the Army, they say don't anticipate the command. But when you go into a meeting, of course, you're supposed to be anticipating the commander's wants or intent, right? And so in this case, you would be doing that. You're anticipating what needs to get done. What would the prime want from me? And so by having control of this, the large primes begin to look at you as a subject matter expert and a valued teaming partner in the meetings. Oh, great. John's going to help me win, right? Compared to them looking at you saying you're a small, right? We don't want to be seen as a small. I watched somebody had something on LinkedIn and it just screamed small. I mean, literally said, we're small and we're this and we're that. Those are tags and they're helpful at the acquisition stage. But when you're trying to work with somebody to win an opportunity, they don't care that you're a veteran, a woman, a small business. What they care about is, can you help them win? And so you want them to see from the very beginning of every meeting or the beginning of the relationship that you're a contributor to their chances to winning. There's a line out there that the biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it took place at all. The biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it took place at all. And the reason I say that, and it's appropriate here, is because sometimes we go in as a subcontractor to a prime and think they got it covered. They must know what's going on. They must be talking to the contracting officer. Don't make any assumptions in there, right? Have clear communication, and clear communication in particular comes when you take control of making sure that happens. By the way, I use this other line where I say, in most cases, you want to take responsibility for what happened. Certainly, if you're engaged in any place, take control. And so if I'm late to work one day, I don't want to blame traffic. I want to take control. Take responsibility. When I take responsibility, I now have control. If I say the problem was traffic, now all of the other drivers have control over whether I get to work on time. And it's the same thing in a relationship with a large prime. If I take responsibility for the quality of our relationship and the success of what we're doing, then I've got control. That other person totally will be doing that as well. I'll be respectful, right? Taking my cues from them, but I'm going to take responsibility so I can have control. Another reason that's really important of having control is getting on that same page, right? This goes back to not making assumptions. I want to make sure we're on the same page, that we're going after this opportunity this way, or that you've got these tasks and I got these tasks, whatever it is, not just hoping that they'll communicate it, but making sure that that communication's happening. Last bullet on why it's important that I had written down is that there's the idea that failing to plan is planning to fail. And this just goes with that, right? Failing to plan is planning to fail. And this whole idea of taking control is that I'm planning on how we can succeed. I'm planning on how I could be a good subcontractor to that prime by taking control of the relationship. So let's talk about some one-on-one tasks that are in here. And one and done. So one and done tasks. These are designed to be done once and pretty much you're good to go. And first one, great example, is scheduling that recurring meeting. I meet with John and John says, we have a great intro meeting. And John says, yeah, let's absolutely connect, stay in touch, and start working on Air Force opportunities together, right? Well, so I want to make sure that I'm establishing a regular meeting. Hey, John, let's get a regular scheduled meeting every 2 weeks. It can be 15 minutes, 30 if you want, but it really could be 15 minutes for capture or business development, right? So if I'm looking at the whole pipeline, I can have a whole meeting in 15 minutes and review the pipeline. Anything longer than 15 minutes and I'm just chatting in different directions compared to being very tactical about it, right? I'm not trying to stop you from having an hour conversation with John if that's what you want, but you can be very efficient and both you and John can move back on to other tasks. Because this meeting every 15 minutes is a touch-based meeting. And it's the same thing that I would suggest for capture. If you have an opportunity you're working on and, hey, we're going to be on your team, I'd like to touch base with you once every 2 weeks, just 15 minutes. We just do a status check on the opportunity. Anything new, anything I'm doing, anything you're doing. By doing this, we will make sure nothing slides by, but it can be like 15 minutes, less if we have no updates. But when we schedule it, I know we'll be able to do that. Is that all right with you? Of course they're going to say, okay, right? Sometimes people might stretch it around, but this goes back to my control. How about we make sure we're scheduling it? That way I can give you updates on what we're doing. And I always say every 2 weeks, because if you go 3 weeks, it starts getting too far. People are forgetting about each other. Things are getting missed. 2 weeks is a good range. Now, something to keep in mind about this, when I'm saying schedule a meeting every 2 weeks, for capture as an example, this is not about the data calls. This is not solutioning all these other things. It's just a status update. And so a status update literally can be done in 5 minutes, right? I've worked with people where we've had 5-10 minute max meetings where we touch base. We actually are able to talk about a couple of opportunities to get out. And we've got people on our team who are working on, let's say, solutioning or doing some capture activities with the customer. But we are just making sure that we're touching base. Everything's still on track. This is where I might be engaging them as, who else is on the team, et cetera. Anyways, first thing is schedule a recurring meeting. Second one is establish a framework. So don't go into this meeting without any kind of plan. When I generally talk about sales meetings, I use a call plan. When I go into recurring meetings, I use a framework. And so the framework for a business development meeting might be around this idea of, hey, anything new going on in the Air Force that just we need to pay attention to. Yeah, there's this conference going here. Or, hey, I just saw they put out a strategic document. You want to go take a look at that. So anything new in the Air Force, I want to talk with John about. The next thing I want to talk to him about is there any opportunities that are that we already have in the pipeline that we want to talk about updates? And so at some point, I don't want an opportunity in a pipeline that I'm talking with a large prime about. That I have in a pipeline with them that I'm not talking to them about. So every 2 weeks, I should be doing an update on all the opportunities. Really, when I'm looking at a teaming partner, it's probably 3 to 5 opportunities. If you've got more than that, then you're not having a real pipeline discussion. You're just kind of having a wish list pipeline discussion. And that's more of an internal activity, not something you do with a teaming partner. So the framework is anything about the Air Force, anything about existing opportunities we're tracking on, any new opportunities that you'd like to talk to me about or I'd like to talk to you about. Those 3 things make up my framework for meeting with a large prime or even a small teaming partner on a regular basis, right? If I'm meeting with somebody on a regular basis as it relates to business development or capture, those are the 3 things. The capture framework's a little different, but follows that kind of same thing. 3 bullets, 3 things we're going to talk about. The next thing about one and done that you can do is get them to tell you their processes. So when I go in and I'm establishing a new relationship with a large prime, I want to know what your process is for business development, what your process is for capture, and what your process is for proposal. Do you actually have this written down in a slide? Can we get an NDA in place and you send it to me? That's the best, right? Many of these places have it already down so they can teach their own internal people. And if we've got an NDA and we're going to work on the same process, you might as well share it with me. If they don't have something like that, you can ask them about the process. Part of the process is, when you're going through, what are your gates for capture? As an example, when does it move through this gate to this gate? What are some of the things that have to be done from your company's side? Because it might be different than my company, and I want to make sure I'm tracking on your needs. The next one that goes along with that, so capture that process, write it down. That's a task, right? The next one that goes along with that is I want you to build a hierarchy of their leadership. This is really important for understanding who the decision makers are, sticking with capture for 1 minute, but you can kind of expand it or roll it back to BD. But in capture, an opportunity can be no bidded. Well, who can no bid this opportunity? In large primes, let's say GDIT as an example, sometimes the person you're talking to can go up to a certain level. Let's say $5 million. They don't have to talk to anybody. They decide whether they're going to bid it, go forward. And so you're talking to the right person. Other times, if it's a $50 million opportunity or a $100 million opportunity, it has to go to their boss, right? Some director, let's say. And then if it goes up to another level, it's above $500 million, so over $500 million opportunity. This needs to go to the senior VPs of BD for all of DoD or something. Knowing that will help you understand what needs to be done and so at what stage do you have to go get that approval? What do those people need and how can I help you get that? So that's why I call it a one and done task. It might take you a little while, not necessarily saying it's going to happen in one day, but having this conversation and building that hierarchy will allow you to understand who could cut the deal out from underneath your legs just by saying, no, we're not going to bid it for whatever reason, right? Understanding that is part of your job and getting control of the prime and getting them to even think about it is just a normal part of sales. So the next group of tasks I want to talk to you about, as you think about how you can control a prime to your success and theirs, are ongoing tasks. So in this particular case, I'm thinking about things like very basic. taking meeting minutes. So if I go into a regular meeting every 2 weeks, I'm trying to build a very solid relationship with this person. And I'm also trying to clarify things we say. Think about this. How often have you been in a meeting and then gotten to a teaming agreement discussion and found out people were talking about all different things? Somebody thought they were getting a 49% work share, and you're like, what? Or more importantly, you thought you were getting a 49% work share, and they're like, yeah, I'll give you 5%. What are you talking about? We're bringing all these SMEs, right? Or you thought you were going to have this whole swim lane of work. There's 7 task areas. You wanted this one task area. You and John had been talking about it. And the whole time you thought that was an agreement. When you don't write this down, it's just a conversation. And so when it gets to teaming agreement time, it gets brutal sometimes. And so as you go along, if you take control of the meeting minutes, it doesn't have to be a huge exercise. But if you're having a meeting every 2 weeks, you just take a minute. You already built your framework, so you can create a meeting minute, email framework. Hey, John, we talked about this, this, and this, right? And you break it down into the 3 framework elements that I said. You just put in some bullets as you're talking, right? We talked about this opportunity, and here's some of the stuff we talked about. It doesn't have to be legally binding. It has to be, are we in agreement? Remember, communication, the illusion that it took place at all. By writing it down, you're getting confirmation. Could you please clarify that I got it right? When you go into the next meeting, by the way, you can always bring up that last meeting minute and say, hey, last time we talked about this, just clarifying, I didn't get a response from you, which is fine, but did any of this off, right? I get task area 7. Yes, you get task area 7. Perfect. And we're talking about a 15% work share. Right. My leadership will go as high as 20, but we might need to bring a teaming partner on. So, but at least 15%. Perfect. It's in writing. And again, it's just writing to help, it's kind of like keeping people honest. It's not legally binding, but it definitely is legally reminding. We're reminding John what we talked about. And so going with writing those notes are action items. I agree to do this. You agree to do this, John. We agreed that these are some of the next action items. You want to own those and control them by doing meeting minute and action item tracking and getting it back. Some people think it's beneath them. I got 30 years of experience. If I can get into a meeting and control that, then I control the meeting. I control the outcome afterwards. Hey, this is what we talked about. There's a reason those who are in control tend to be the ones who write like a legal document first. Everybody else is trying to edit their stuff. I like being the creator, and meeting minutes is just another creation effort. You're not trying to do anything wrong. You're really trying to document what's in there, but you don't leave it to chance that the other person remembered what you guys were talking about, or they'll write them immediately. I do my meeting minutes immediately following the meeting. And within 30 minutes, it's right back in John's email box. Here's what we talked about. Here's what we said we would do. So that's a way to control the prime teaming partners. And again, they'll be thankful. Oh, thanks, because I can copy that and put it into my CRM tool. My boss will see I have meeting minutes. I'm cool with that. The next one that I want you to remember is, and this is an interesting one, right? It goes back to mostly of what I'm sharing here is capture task now. Data calls. When you get a data call, one way to control the prime, this will seem interesting, is to respond to a data call fast. So respond to them always. When you get anything, you respond right away saying, I received it. I'll get back to you. All I'm trying to do is let John know I recognize that you sent me something. And John's going to be, thanks. If he's got a team of like 5 or 10 companies, and we're the only one just getting back saying, I got it, I'll get back to you. It's showing him we care about the relationship. It's showing him we care about winning this opportunity, that we're here to work with them. And then the data call itself, right? Hey, write me a page or send me some past performance. Getting that data call back is, you should not wait till the due date. John gives you a due date and you get it back by then. No, I would get it back as soon as you can. If you're working with a large prime, John, on an opportunity, isn't this opportunity important? Well, operate from that sense of urgency, right? So respond as quickly as you can to that data call. John, here's the data call you asked for. John, I don't have anything on that. I wish I could help you. I got nothing. Is there some other way I can help you? Do you want to jump on a quick call? Whatever it is, whether you're confused, you can't respond, or you can respond, all of it, do quickly, right? John will appreciate this. And you're controlling the relationship. You're controlling the prime by John now seeing, wow, look how fast Neil got back with this data call. I got to get my own data calls in order, right? I need John to do his job as a capture manager, let's say, and make sure that he's talking to the contracting officer if I cannot, right? That he's thinking about solutioning early on and not waiting for the RFP. And so the more I respond quickly, the more I'm able to influence John. Again, not in a bad way or any kind of way that he wouldn't want. It's more like an accountability buddy, except for the tail wagging the dog or something. All right, last two things I wanted to mention is as you go along, right, from business development into capture into proposal, and I talked about the process, clarify the process as you're going along. Hey, John, in my eyes, we're at this stage, right? This opportunity is here. This is what we're trying to get done in the next 3 or 4 weeks, let's say, because generally you're talking about opportunities you're working on for 6, 12 months on this level. So I'm looking at the process according to your process, and I would even show it. If he didn't give me his process written down, I would write my thoughts on his process. One of the meetings, I would clarify that with them. And then in this meeting that I'm talking about, this idea, I would bring it up again and say, hey, John, my understanding is we're here. Aren't we due to get your boss something? What do you need from me and the other teaming partners to get something going? So if you clarify that process, not only are you figuring out what you need so that you don't have to operate at night, right, and weekends. You don't have to be working late at night, your team working late at night. If you clarify the process and what's needed, then you can let your team or yourself know, hey, we got to write this thing in the next few days, the next few weeks. Let's get started during the daylight hours so I don't have to work at night. But it also pushes John, getting him to think about the capture process. Oh, shoot, you're right. I do have to brief my boss. I do need to get this stuff in. Some people are really totally in control of it. I've worked with people at I don't know if it's Boeing or SAIC, but they were totally on with their process. They were actually a little less on with the program office capture type task, which is fine. You find out where you can help. So in this process area, John was always telling me right away, hey, this is what we're going to need in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so the last one I want to mention is get introduced to other people on the team. One of the ways you can control your prime, not just the person, John, but the whole prime, is to get introduced to other people who are on the team that are going to be part of this. So if you think about capture and proposal, you're talking about who's going to be part of the solutioning, right? If I'm going after kind of a larger IT project and it's got a component on cyber and it's got a component on cloud and a component on data, well, that's generally not going to be the same subject matter expert or solutioning architect within that large prime. So I want to begin to learn who that is, and I want you to do that same thing. Figure out who's going to be on your team. Who might you work with? In particular, you want to be tracking the people who are related to your task areas, right? So as you get to know them, you'll be able to respond to them or work with them even offline. But it's another great way to control the prime by getting to know their people and they know you, and you're kind of helping move the opportunities forward. So we went through a lot. I hope this made sense for you. If it did, give it a thumbs up or give me a comment letting me know what you think about how I'm describing control in there. But it's really important to me that you control a relationship just so you don't let it go to chance, right? You're respectfully controlling. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about how to control a subcontractor and how to get them to do their best, not how to control them and whip them into shape kind of thing, but how to control them in a way that they will deliver the most for you in a great way. And so this is important whether you're a small prime or a large prime. How do you work with those small businesses? Again, remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. Part of the process is coming to training, and I will see you at the next event.